Hey everybody, it's Thorfinn here, and there's a glaring problem with Valorant right now, and that is the post-plant meta. Essentially, in every situation, no matter what, you would need to play your post-plant by playing off of it and playing for essentially this bomb spam, right? You have these really good plants, something like this right here. In the link in the description, I'm going to have a strong legs video that talks more about that. But this isn't exactly what this video is designed for. This video is not talking about that and the meta of Valorant and everything, but it's talking about what I believe is the counter to it, at least what I would implement as a counter to this composition. That is this comp, right? So Killjoy is kind of varied because it kind of depends more off of preference. I do think Cypher is really good. I think his trip specifically is overtuned a bit, and the reason why is because you have to use utility to break it, right? And forcing anyone to use a piece of utility is extremely good, right? Let's kind of talk about why this. So for Yoru is the most overtuned agent in the game. He's a flash duelist and a dive duelist at the same time. He has the fastest rotates. He has one of the best abilities to breaking Cypher and Deadlock utility, which is really good for destroying these bunker setups that I feel like you're going to start coming out, right? So I think that's also a kind of another way to counteract this post-plant meta is to just make sure they don't plant, right? To play heavy trap setups going into the mains, play super on site, use utility to deny plants, and anchor extremely hard. But I think this is better. It's kind of a more fluid composition instead. So we have Omen, because Omen is kind of key in every double controller comp, and I'll get to the harbor part of it in a second. But he has an Omen blind, right? So it's another piece of utility that we can use to hit sites. He has the TP, so kind of another aggressive angle, so you don't always have to use Yoru as kind of your main guy in. With double controller, your Omen needs to be a bit more aggressive than they usually would. As well as Harbor is really good, but he's very good for fast popping, not so great for defaulting. So Omen kind of brings that level of play, which is what you're going to need to do with this composition on attack, is be very typically like OG standard tac FPS minded. We're going to need to default. You're not always going to be able to just slam sites and full rotations. You need to break utility, but find the least stack bomb site, pull out utility from the defenders, and so on. Sova, I think, is just the best initiator in the game because he counters Cypher extremely hard with his shocks. His ultimate as well is really good, and especially when you can actually use Sova ultimate aggressively on a lot of these lanes, because most of the time teams are running Cypher. So because they're running Cypher, it kind of allows you to not worry about like just using your ult only for breaking Killjoy ultimates. So you can focus a lot more on using it for site hits, to just deny certain sides of sites, using it for post plant, using it off of drone tags, and comboing it with like Yoru ult, for example, is really good. And that. So my next sort of variation here on this composition is Harbor. The reason why I think Harbor is really good is because of its Cove. It's another piece of utility that counters Cypher. What that means is you can basically throw a Cove right here, right? So one of you can get slapped with the Cypher trip and the rest of you can flood in, and you don't really have to worry about getting spammed. It's kind of a cool tech that I see PaperX use a lot. Something that I've used whenever I've played Harbor. And something that's really important, as well as he has a really good kit. His Cascade and his High Tide are really annoying, as well as I think having a site exec ultimate is really important, well as it's really good for playing post plant. Yes, this composition is designed to not only be extremely annoying and disruptive of this post-plant meta where you just kind of sit back and spam, but it's also designed to be extremely good at executing. So again, with Sova, Dart, Drone, Omen blind. You have 2 smokes. And the Cascade is extremely good at this kind of setup, right? You throw the Cascade deep right here on this line, and if they try to flood through, they're getting slowed, right? So it gives you more of a opportunity to counteract any sort of combination of utility that they can throw at you to try to deny this setup here, right? And then Cypher, because he's basically just the best Sentinel in the game. I think you could get away with Killjoy as well, which is why I put Killjoy up here. But it kind of depends on the map, but most likely you're probably just going to play. So let's kind of show how I would run this comp on Sunset. Essentially what I would do is I'd start Yoru over towards this A-link position most of the time. Sova is going to be kind of your floater, and then Harbor is going to be your other A. I'll change it. So Sova's going to be kind of towards like your mid and your market player. And Dart down mid can kind of stop defaults, disrupt, kind of get info as to how they're defaulting, where we can speed up. Cypher is obviously going to be your B player, and then Omen is going to be your A player. Kind of a typical setup for this A line is this setup, right? So boom, boom, right? We have one guy here towards the elbow position. You have one guy towards a you have another guy with a piece of line utility, whether it be a breach or an open, kind of holding this to deny this A space and grab, right? So this is kind of your default standard setup that you'd run towards the A bomb site. And Cypher would kind of be a hard main, right? You kind of have a here. Probably do something pretty similar to the Benji fishing setup, especially with your Sova kind of being a rotator, right? So maybe Sova would come in and insta-close the door, and then your Sova would kind of play here, you'd play back here, and you guys would kind of double hold the market and be able to kind of come out and flood here and play together and hold this market position, which is super key for this. So how I would do kind of, right? So essentially you instantly have as soon as you hear like footsteps or anything, or you have that inclination, insta TP Yoru. One thing that you can do with this setup here, use the dark cover to instantly like one-way that and post Harbor on this site and leave Harbor and rotate and come stack towards the B bomb site if you have this inclination. How you'd kind of play this iteration most of the time is you would have probably your Omen kind of hold this paranoia here towards the main. You'd have like a Cypher cage, right, to come out and fight or something like that. Probably more like right here, so Cypher can get out. And then you'd have a Sova kind of holding a dart towards like this top of the wall from market. Have your Yoru kind of holding a flash towards this back site area, essentially flashing behind this Cypher and full fighting out towards B. And the reason why you can kind of leave Harbor here, kind of hold this by himself, because of his stall utility. So, for example, let's say that the enemy team kind of comes, right? Let's say they kind of boom, they hit the dart, right, and then start coming fast. The first thing that you can do as Harbor is only throw up your high tide. Throwing up your high tide just adds another piece of stall, slow them down. Followed with like your cove as well to get out, guarantee your safety, while the rest of you kind of come in and rotate, right? Not only that, depending on how your Yoru wants to here when he comes. If he has the TP sort of right here, right? Essentially what you could do is kind of have the protocol to they're running up elbow. You have Yoru flash a link, because you don't have the one-way here, right? You just have the cascade. Well, you just have the harbor wall. You have the flash here to kind of fight into the and maybe either fight through it or just get Harbor out to full. Now, the retake setup that I would do sort of towards this A bomb site, I've already just kind of showed you how you kind of be pretty typical stuff. You can throw a Yoru flash over this that pops right here that blinds anyone back site. Also will half blind any guys. It'll full blind this guy. Using the Omen paranoia, most of the time I like to flash line right here, you guys can get out of C. So flashing this line, Yoru flashing here, and then sending a clone potentially like towards this 8 link area, and also high-tiding this kind of where I would go, right? You high-tide this to deny these guys going fast. Throw a cascade. While your Sova pretty much just throws support utility. Sova would probably bounce like a dart here. Sniper would go with your Sova. Sova would drone, and then Sniper would hold this side of the bomb. Now, what I really need to talk about, right, is more so how this effectively denies this, right, which is what the comp is kind of what you need to have in place to defeat this style of play. So one of the first things that I think this composition has compared to most is it has 3 sets of flashes. Super important, right? But it also has this high tide. I think a lot of people underestimate how creative. So what I would do, right, is you throw the high tide like this. For lack of like a better example. The reason why you do is if they don't have the smoke, right, you're cutting them off from being able to, right? Actually, you'd probably throw it like right here to cut off this right side. And you could drop a cove onto. One thing that you need to do though is make sure you drop the cove behind this pillar. The reason why is it lessens the ability for it to be shot from here. You have to swing out decently wide in comparison to most in order to actually. Now, the next piece of the next sort of thing that you need to do is a fake out. Using the Yoru clone allows you to blind opponents through these omen smokes, right? When they're trying to spam. And by doing that, it allows you to combo that with a recon dart and an omen paranoia, right? Just off of the fake out, or like any other piece of to make it extremely dangerous extremely dangerous for these guys to just sit here and spam, right? So you really need to do just causing chaos with Yoru, kind of the main thing. Now, I'm not saying that this is exactly a perfect fix. You have to execute it really well. It's something that you have to practice, which is why this isn't a thing that I'm saying, oh, you hop into rank with this comp and you're gonna win, right? I think definitely if you have reps on it, you're gonna win. It's just a really good composition. But I think more so the level of creativity you can have with this comp allows you to actually deny this in multiple ways, right? And the reason why I'm not telling you to do this is because this is the main, this is going to be thought out, right? Pretty much once TSM showed this, any team that's playing B Sunset Post Plant is going to probably bring 2 people to double fight this, which potentially is good because you can overwhelm the rest of the guys B main and force them back, right? But most of the time, probably not going to be that same. So using the, again, like the Yoru clone and like the blind side, right, his flashes, and essentially that's kind of the thing, right? You need to util dump them so they don't feel safe spamming, right? And with the cove, right, you can at least get it to half, essentially. As well as, again, with the high tide, right, by denying any, probably want to throw it like, essentially. Basically denying this right side entirely, forcing the left side. Now, here's the thing though, right? If it's the left side that's the problem, you kind of want to throw the wall like, or so. Maybe, right? Essentially you have to kind of tweak it, right, and work around with it. But trying to find these walls that you can throw sort of out of the map and into B main to make it so where they have to swing through these slows to actually spam the bomb, and comboing it with your own pings of where you think the of like where they can swing from to actually shoot the bomb, right, is going to pretty much allow you to better deny it by just even spamming them back, right? Just counter spamming them. You know, a lot of people use the Vandal, so it's going to be a lot easier to do that. People with the Phantom is going to be a little bit more difficult, obviously, but this comp requires a lot of like really looking into it and understanding exactly like how this works, right? And understanding every little like micro thing you can do to help this composition work its best, right? I also think that one thing that you have this reckoning, right? I think is really good because stunning, especially in these tight spaces, is super like capitalizing, right? But also you're not being able to shoot as many bullets onto the bomb, which means the cove is harder to break, which means your teammates have more time to deny them actually defusing, right? Will deny them from stopping the defuse. So that's kind of all I have here for like this Valo plant sequence. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to load up Valorant. I'm going to hop into a game and kind of talk and kind of show some of these ideas of what I mean in the game. I think that that's the most important thing to do. So give me 1 second. All right, so kind of talk about what I wanted to show all of you. So this is the concept I'm talking about.
Shield going up.
Launching the cove here, right? It's not as much. You could probably max it a bit by putting it maybe away. Probably right.
Fire.
So
Shield going up.
So midway through here, right, and you can stick the bomb. Right. Now again, what you do, right, is you cascade this.
Right there.
Throw it deep. Again, it'd all be about like finding these. Here, right. Damn it, so you have to throw it probably like right here, right? Essentially, like the only way that they can spam it from this side, right, is by coming out and swinging through the wall. Comboing that with harbor ults, for example. Then, kind of another thing with harbor on this map, it lets you control Doru, right? This should have him be effective, especially if he's like tucked right guy, like top mid, kind of just angle, right? And he can have the Yoru. Kill a guy here, get a safety. That, right? Okay. I was talking about with this, right? Blocking that off. Do is literally just right click, have the cove. Now, a lot of people are starting to put the bomb right here as well. Kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. But one thing that you can do, right, is if you start planning here, is have harbor make the adjustment back and essentially this wall right here. What it does is it isolates this elbow guy, pop into combo with like a Euro flash or with fight into it. Cove pretty much denies any spam. Same thing with here, right? And this starts you or a flash pops.
Water rising.
This or you
Flooding them.
personally and then also one thing you can do, put a wall like this. Wall's really good. Probably back on this. Cuts the sight in half. It also cuts us
Right there.
off, right? So they have to come
there.
in here off of this play out. Like farther out rather than here, so you can evolve the where you're doesn't block off this elbow position as well while you're wrapping back through. Right here, CT can just now kind of talking about side of everything.
30 seconds left.
I think this is the one that
not looking.
I need the most talking to about Harbor. So the Yori side of things, right, is kind of what the team do towards B.
Time to jump. Fake teleport.
Right, and then if you're over towards A, oh,
Time to jump.
essentially what you could do if you wanted to
Fake
get
teleport.
A, come here
Cutting through.
at the run, right, at TP
Here.
corner. How fast you use that TP allows you to come back and basically ready to fight any
Careful
pushing
here.
Cypher. And I talked about the Benji fish
Here.
mark. Have a trick
Careful here.
cam somewhere. I know that there's an APOF cam that you throw like somewhere. I think it's like up here, something like that, because essentially what it does.
Careful here.
Also, I might be wrong. There's some like insane cam over towards this beat site. I know Apoth and Moose use it, so if you guys want to try to find that, go ahead. But yeah, right. So using like this, one thing that you can do right with the cascade, it allows you to splat.
Decoy.
Do is you throw a decoy towards the right side, hot flash in, spam this, as well as use your alt.
I'll handle
Sit on these guys who are
My ult's ready.
spamming. It can just shoot you while you're in your ultimate, and very easily.
I'm back.
Thing, like bunk stuff. So picking a nice path for a decoy to run down to stop like deadlock and cypher utility. Over towards A, kind of setting up triangle. Old I was talking about, right? Like the one thing that you do, right, is you want to have your harbor, okay? You want your harbor, it's kind of be the guy taking contact. This finds these guys, you can set up pretty much a nice little flash for me. One thing you have to do when you're playing A-Link though is it's just a really great flash. Probably find a better flash for this. One thing that you can do is harbor beat contact and ledge contact onto it. I'll flash. Fuck that one. Come in and fight. Try that with an open blind as well. There's also some flashes like flash here. Nice top mid flash. Allows you to kind of fight. The flash you can throw. Coming out, you throw it against the wall.
Careful
Pops right
here.
here. Another flash that you can throw again. Flash like this. Essentially, anyone looking, right side gets blind. That's you on your cypher's
here.
right side. And you guys. 4-man tight hold. Or just like, you just throw the flash like this. Stalls, you're coming in, you can throw like your clone and stuff like that. And just get ready. One thing that I like to do on Yoru when you're coming, right?
Cutting through.
Help. It just allows you to kill. If you get stuck
Careful
here, you get to come back. Or like if one of your guys dies, like just getting bumped, allows you to TP into safety and just set up. So for Sova,
30 seconds
My ult
left.
is ready. Enemies close. Eyes up.
triangle here.
Right here.
This. Start,
Revealing area.
bottom mid. Start towards bottom mid.
Revealing area.
Also play like top B. Top mid.
Scanning ahead.
And do like cross map darts as well. I think are really good. Cross map, but
Scanning ahead.
all the way.
Caution here.
Right, this is a nice dart. Finding also like all the darts that you are the dart that I forgot exactly how you throw. Bounces,
Caution here.
right, or
Caution here.
bucket land. Right, having those clear these front sight is. I think it lands right. If I
Revealing
remember
area.
correctly. The reason why I use this dart is scan front sight. Oh, how to throw your flash or your own line. Playing post plant, right? Anything.
Revealing area. Deploying drone.
Have Stova tag. And also have shocks. Most of the time you're gonna use shocks with
Shock
like
dash.
utility. Right? One thing that you need to understand though is one thing that I like to do personally. If they're allowing you to sort of get up with a team, packed up, you have like people, take the contact bro. Walk up, see if the trip's there. Walk up, see if it's there. If it's there, stock it, right? If it's not there, then you know there's placing deeper, right? Getting that info is always great when you actually need to talk these. Like, 'cause sometimes motherfuckers come here, they do this, come back, right, and that, and then no,
Right here.
no one-way trip right here, right? Cypher just throws the one-way trip, and then they have all of this.
Caution here.
Don't have to fight for it. Body here, which is kind of what you want. Now, we're towards like the bomb site. Well, bomb site, sorry. One thing that you can combo like flash,
Scanning ahead.
Nova dart onto this, right? You can have Omen. Kind of my sequence of events. Your flash, Sova dart, and then you up and kind of guy, push them all off of elbow, set piece so you can. Also with Sova again, and right here,
Scanning ahead.
dart like high, like kind of the
Shock dart.
shocks to shock user. Wide damage. Your ultimate. One of the lanes that I think are ultimate. Personally, I like ultimate.
Right here. Right here.
Really safe. Not getting rushed. Well, as you're far back enough from your teammates, really not going to hit.
My ult is ready.
One thing that you can do that is very high risk, high reward play is have your Sova kind of walk down here. Pick
Right here. Right here. I am the hunter.
unload.
My ult is ready.
This is especially good comboed with the Harbor ult because it's essentially
Right here.
really hard to get. Most likely you'd want to have bring up here, right? So you Cypher Harbor in take, you throw the
Right
Harbor
here.
ult out and the Harbor ult come in and hit last second. Combo that with your Omen Blind. Omen Blind, Sova ults, very easy to be made. There are other maps that I think this could work on other than Sunset. I just figured Sunset is kind of like the prime map for this composition. So, yeah, if you guys want me to make like actual in-depth kind of strategies on this map or any other map that has the sort of post-plant meta bullshit, let me know. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this kind of idea. It's nothing super original, but I think it can be a really good, valuable composition to counter this meta. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe. See you guys later. Peace.